Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's just a couple minutes after 6 o'clock, and we have many folks already connected to the webinar tonight. So thank you so much for joining us, but there are still folks getting connected. So I'm going to give it just another minute or two for everyone to join, and then we will get started. Okay, I think we have a critical mass. Still a few folks trickling in, but I think we'll get going in an effort to be timely for those of you who have already arrived. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Aaron McGuire. I'm the Executive Director of Friends of Baxter State Park, and I want to thank each and every one of you for making time to be here with us this evening. It's really an honor to be able to share the work of our incredible youth program participants with all of you. And I'm really grateful to each and every one of you for attending tonight. So a few details before we get started. I think most of us are extremely familiar with Zoom by this point, probably more familiar than we would like to be after a couple of pandemic years. But I will run through the tools at our disposal just to make sure that we're all familiar with them. So this is webinar format. You may have noticed that there is not a giant grid of participants, of meeting participants on the screen. This is set up as a webinar. So unless you are a panelist who is going to be speaking tonight, none of us can see or hear you. Your audio and video are turned off by default if you're attending the meeting. The only folks that will be appearing on screen are those of us who are presenting tonight. But there are still many ways that you can engage with the folks who will be speaking this evening. If you look down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat button. If you click that, you'll get a chat window that appears. If you're having any issues with your audio or your video or have any questions about how things are going this evening, our wonderful Deputy Director, Mary Weitzman, will be monitoring the chat, and she can certainly help you with any tech issues that you're having as well. You'll also notice a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. That is a little more focused tool for asking questions. So if you have a question for one of our presenters tonight, you can type your question into the Q&A field, and then I will be moderating the Q&A and will be directing your questions to the presenter. So please, you can type a question in there at any time. It won't interrupt or just disrupt things in any way. So please, if you have a question, you can type it into the Q&A field. And finally, if you would like to speak out loud, and if the chat or the Q&A don't work well for you, then you'll notice a raise hand button down at the bottom of your screen. If you click that and raise your hand, I will understand that to mean that you'd like to speak out loud, and I can actually turn your audio on just for a brief period. And if you'd like to pose your question out loud to the speaker. So those are the three options that you have if you'd like to ask questions of any of the presenters tonight. And I encourage you to ask questions and be thinking about questions you could ask to these young people who are speaking. So if you have questions about any of that, any of the tech tools, please ask them in the chat, and Mary can help fill you in and answer your question there. Otherwise, I think we'll jump in. First of all, I just want to let everyone know that we are recording the webinar tonight. We heard from quite a few people who weren't able to join at this time, but would like to watch the presentations at a later date. So we are recording. And that includes the chat and what's happening on screen. So that is being recorded, and we are planning to post recordings of tonight on our YouTube channel and eventually on our website as well for those who want to go back and watch them later. I think that's it for logistics. So let's dive in. The subject of our event tonight is the Baxter Youth Conservation Corps, and this is one of our we have two youth programs. The Maine Youth Wilderness Leadership Program is the other. The Baxter Youth Conservation Corps, we launched this program in 2017, and it is specifically for youth from the Katahdin region of Maine. And that's really the communities surrounding the park: Millinocket, East Millinocket, Medway, up through Stacyville, Sherman, up and Island Falls, and really up through Oakfield and Dyer Brook in the north, and down as far as Lincoln in the south. So that's kind of our service region for this program. Really kids who can walk out into their yards or nearby their houses and see Katahdin, from their communities. It's really meant for the communities that are directly surrounding the park, and for youth from those communities. So we started this program in 2017 as a trail work program, service learning with a service learning focus, and hired youth from these communities surrounding the park for summer jobs doing trail work in the park. We started out with a crew of 10. We worked our first year in the Katahdin Lake area, accomplished about 900 hours of work for the park in that first year. Second year, we doubled the size of the program, and we added a northern crew based out of Patton, and we did 4 weeks of work, that almost a couple thousand hours of work in that second year. And then we increased the program in 2019 by another 50%, expanded the program to 6 weeks, and kept our 2 crews in Millinocket and Patton, and got over 2,000 hours, to almost 2,700 hours of work done in that third year that we were donating to the park. So as of right now, we have donated over 5,000 hours of trail work to Baxter State Park through this program, and provided over $100,000 in payroll to area youth through the summer jobs that they have in this program. There's also a career mentoring component, resume workshops, presentations from environmental professionals working locally in the field. And we really intend this program to be inspiring on many different levels. On career perspective, we're hoping that our participants will get some exposure to careers in the environmental field, possibly even careers in the park. We have had alumni of this program who are now working full-time in Baxter. One of our program alumni, who was a many-year veteran of the program, got a job as a ranger in the park, and he's now a trail specialist with the park, working full-time professionally, taking care of the park trails after several years in our program. And we also have alumni who are working in the conservation field for other organizations in the Katahdin region. So we're really trying to build expertise in the Katahdin region, and build personal connections between youth in the region and Baxter State Park. We're hoping that after participating in the program, our youth feel a really strong sense of ownership and connection to the park, and share that with their families and their friends and their communities over time. So that really is a goal for us, is to help build the connections between local communities in the park. It's good economically, it's good for the park from a conservation perspective, it's good for area youth, and we really try to have the program be a win-win in all of those different areas. And so we're in year 6. We have modified the program slightly during the pandemic. So for the last 2020, 2021, and now this summer, 2022, we have been running a modified version of the program called the BYCC Conservation Fellows. And we're piling into a 15-passenger van in close proximity has been problematic. So we have shifted a little bit away from trail work toward more of an internship model in those 3 summers, with participants working remotely on independent study projects from home, in order to be able to still be employed, still be achieving all of our objectives and building connections to the park, but staying safe during the pandemic. We're really excited that this summer we've been able to shift slightly back toward trail work, and we were able to accomplish 2 days per week of trail work this summer. So participants spent 3 days per week working on their independent studies and 2 days a week working together on trail work in the park and transporting themselves to the work site to avoid the bottleneck of riding together in the van. So we are really thrilled that we've been able to donate a couple days per week of trail work time to the park this summer. I don't have an accurate tally of the hours we've put in yet, and there's still more work happening tomorrow and Friday. So stay tuned on that, but we're very excited to be back to trail work. So one thing I want to do before we move on, this program is almost a third of our operating budget now, and it's something we really care deeply about and have been investing heavily in, and that would not be possible without the financial support of our members. So if every one of you who are connected tonight, if you're a member of Friends, thank you. It is your membership dues help make this program possible, and we could not do it without you. So we're really grateful for your support. We're also really grateful to the foundations that have been so generously supporting this program. And in this past year, there is quite a list. I'm going to read them off so you can help share your gratitude to them as well, if you're able. So Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation, Onion Foundation, Maine Community Foundation, the John Sage Foundation, Elsie and William Viles Foundation, Simmons Foundation, the Betterment Fund, and the Margaret Burnham Charitable Trust, as well as the High Pointers Foundation this year sponsored 2 of our conservation fellows, Emma McGraw and Kyle McNally. The High Pointers provided grant support to fund their 2 fellowships specifically this summer. So just want to send a huge thanks to all of those foundations. Those are just the foundations that have supported the program in this calendar year. Quite a list, and I'm really happy to say that the program has been getting very strong support from funders, and we're very grateful for that. So part of what and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, part of what we're trying to achieve with this program is helping participants develop expertise on Baxter State Park, and then start sharing that expertise with their communities. So it just so happened that out of our 5 participants this summer, 4 are longtime veterans of the program and have been developing that expertise over several years. And so the timing was really right for us to help with our group this year, to help shift gears into sharing that knowledge that they've gained with our members, with visitors to our website, with park visitors in general, and start taking that knowledge that they've gained in the program and start giving it back to the broader community of people who care about and visit the park. We also happen to be in the middle of a major website redevelopment project, our first in 7 years, so 8 years. So the timing was right there for some magic to happen. And we have asked our fellows this summer to share their knowledge and that they've gained in their photos and stories and experiences over the summer on our website for our new website, which will be launched this fall. So what you're going to be seeing tonight in these presentations is going to be coming across in the format that it will be on our website, and as draft web pages with photos and narrative and all sorts of other information. So just to prime you for what you're going to be seeing from each of our presenters, they'll be showing you their work in that format tonight. Anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay. While we're waiting for a couple seconds to see if there are any questions, Mike, why don't you work on connecting and turning on your video and audio? So our first Our first speaker tonight is Mike Clark, and Mike is a many-year veteran of the program from Millinocket, and I'll let him introduce himself further and talk to you about what he's been working on this summer. I was really thrilled to not to preempt you, Mike, but to be able to hire Mike this summer after 4 years as a participant in the program, to be able to hire Mike in a leadership capacity as one of our 2 crew leaders for the trail work portion of the program this summer. So Mike has successfully transitioned from a participant role in the program into a leadership role, and was thrilled to be working with him again this year. So Mike, I'll step aside and let you take it from here.
Alrighty, thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Clark, as Aaron mentioned. I've been doing this for 5 summers now, and I've had a great time doing it. And I would like to start off our night by showing you some of the trail work that we've been doing and do what we've show you the magnificent work that we've put in place. I'm going to try and share my screen here. One moment. Do you see my screen at all yet, Aaron?
Not quite yet, no. Sometimes it takes a few seconds, though. There we go. You got it, Mike.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start our night out by showing you some of the trail work we have done. So this year we started out on the 8-Ball Trail, which is on Katahdin. It's one of the most famous trailheads there for hikers. And the first day we went around and cleaned out some of the drainage systems there on the trail, so that way it prevents erosion so that the trails can last a very long time without having to maintain them. We also helped the trail crew people from Baxter Park hike out some of their trail crew equipment, and we had the privilege of carrying these massive poles down the trail. They were very heavy, and the photo may look deceiving, but these things are about 12 feet long and probably weigh near 30 to 40 pounds a piece. And we were able to carry down, I believe, 10 of these off the mountain to help the trail crew. And that was no easy task, but you know, it's something that needed to be done, and we were able to help them out, and they appreciated it greatly. So after that, the next week we went into the Katahdin Lake Trail and participated in building bog bridges. As you can see here, we built, you know, around 8 of them, and it's one of the trails that is in desperate need of new ones. So we had to help out them with that. So a lot of our work this year was bog bridging. We also installed these on the OGI trail. Right as you enter the trail, about within the first 1/10 of a mile of the trail, we put in over 9 of them. So there's 3 of them there. And then here's a little bit of our bigger project. We put in 6 bridges here over a very, very tough spot. It's in the mud and some pretty thick water. Took us 2 days to put all of these in, and we're very proud of this accomplishment, and we hope that hikers can enjoy this for years to come. So here's another view of that picture. So, and then on top of this, we also did many days of corridor work on the Katahdin Lake Trail. I don't really have pictures of that because you can't really show through picture exactly what we do, but we go into the trails and we take like cutters and stuff like that, and basically we keep the trail corridor 4 feet by 6 feet wide, so that way hikers can have a nice clean hike through. They don't get, you know, sticks and brush, you know, to have to go through on their hike. It keeps the trail nice and open and wide and very convenient for the hikers. So that was some of the trail crew work that we got to do this year. because we were able to work Thursdays and Fridays this year in the park like we used to, and which is always nice because we've been wanting to get back in the park for some time now and get back to our true roots and to be able to help preserve the park and keep it going for years to come. So without further ado, I'll hand it to my partner here, Jake.
Yeah, so as Mike said, we also we went in the park 2 days a week. Well, first, my name is Jake Kowalski. This is also my 5th year. I joined a little late, and Aaron also said how we are doing this program as not only working, but we are also undergoing this huge website. And I thought that this is just a great opportunity to get more experience on not only our knowledge of all these years that we've been working in the park, but also how to share them with you guys as members, and how better way than to give photos and show what we've been doing for the last 5 years with this program. So this is a little sneak peek of the actual website. You can see the different tabs, and this is how it actually will look when it is published. And so me and Mike went ahead and we combined both of our photos and information along with the park's information, so this is all accurate, and created this Climbing Katahdin page so that everyone basically that will search Climbing Katahdin, hopefully it'll be Baxter State Park and Friends of Baxter's website, so that this all information will be ready for anyone who's searching and trying to figure out more information about Climbing Katahdin. And just to like quickly go through, this is how it'll all look when it's published, but we wanted to have photos and also descriptions of all the Katahdin trails. So we have these trails, Hunt Trail with a photo, and then its rating and a little description. So the length, different features of the climb, and just to give you a better idea of what you're going to be seeing and what you're going to be getting into. So Cathedral, and we could just scroll through, and this is how it's going to look. You can just kind of carousel, Saddle, Dudley, Chimney Pond, and these are all photos of the actual hike, which there's some aspects of the actual Baxter State Park website that aren't current with these photos. So it's great to have, you know, an idea of what you're going to be hiking. And yeah, you can kind of just scroll through and see and then read about what these are going to look like. So we also put together our favorite, me and Mike's favorite trail, our loop anyways, and just kind of like what you're going to be seeing. So our favorite trail is going in through from Royne Brook to Chimney Pond, and then up Cathedral, and then across to the summit, and then across Knife's Edge, and then downhill on Taylor, making a nice long loop. But we also have in here that Knife's Edge is jagged and it's steep, and so all these things we want to make sure that when you go to climb Katahdin or go to climb these trails, that you are already prepped with this information, because you don't want to get up there and be like, now I'm at Knife's Edge and I didn't know it was going to be like this. So a lot of this is just giving friendly information to everyone who wants to visit the park, not only members of the Friends of Baxter organization, but also just people in general. And where we have been in the park now for 5 years doing this program, we just wanted to just kind of give back our information and our personal favorite hikes, and also just photos that we've taken through you all donating your money to help us just enjoy the park and take photos and hike and donate our time with trail work. So all these buttons, excuse me, buttons, you can see this parking reservation button would go immediately to the parking registration on the Baxter State Park website. So all this, and then you could easily just go back. So all this is just easy to use. Just click on, click off, weather, what to bring, and then just some photos, and you can click on them, see more. So we just wanted to really just give just more information and kind of give back to the website and help out with whatever we could help out with all our years. So, and Michael will add some more of kind of how the website runs.
Yeah. So yeah, and this wasn't the only page that we worked on. We worked on several others like hiking, camping, fishing, day trips, a whole bunch of stuff like that for everyone to have access to. So this will be a really nice, intensive website for anyone who is looking to get more information on the park. So, and yeah, we try to make it as easy and accessible for all ages, like, direct links to different pages to get more information. We linked it, with Baxter State Park, their official website too. So you can get more of a broader spectrum of things too, like to trail maps and to different things like that. So yeah, we just put our, we went all hands on deck. We combined all of our knowledge and information and tried to give you guys the best opinion and information what we got. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys get to use this website for years and years to come. And it's our pleasure to do this for you guys. And thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike and Jake. Great job. So if anyone has questions for Mike and Jake, please, you can ask them now in the Q&A or in the chat, or raise your hand. Any of the methods we talked about earlier, any of those will work. And now is your chance. Anybody have any questions? Okay. So as Mike and Jake said, they're both 5-year veterans of the program. They've both spent, I don't even know how many hours hiking in the park on work time as well as on their own time. And they're, as you can see from the material they've developed for the website, they're really pretty great resources and sources of expertise for about the park. So all right, I guess I don't see any questions. So Mike and Jake, you guys can hop off, and thank you so much. All right, so our next presenter tonight is also a longtime veteran of the program. She's originally from East Millinocket and is now living up in Holton. And Peyton Spearin is going to speak to us tonight about her work this summer. So take it away, Peyton.
Hi. So like Aaron said, my name is Peyton. I am living in Holton, but from East Millinocket. So I grew up in the shadow of Katahdin and spending all my summers in Baxter State Park with my family. I've been with the BYCC program for 5 years, doing trail crew for the first 2 years. And then when COVID-19 came along, we all had to adapt and join the Conservation Fellowship. My first 2 years of that, I studied aquatic entomology, and then last year I did forestry. And this year I decided to focus on a more broad subject and just did photography. So I'll share my screen here. Let me. Maybe. Is anything happening?
Not yet. I think try turning your video back on. It's just my blank screen showing now. So if you hit start video and then do your screen share, try that.
Oh, no, nothing's happening.
Okay.
Might have the same problem that Mike just had.
Yeah, if you get a pop-up asking for permission, sometimes the fact that we're recording some computers, it prompts a security warning. So you might just have to say allow Zoom to record your computer screen, and you might have a little pop-up you've got to agree to before it'll let you share.
Look at that. Let's see. How about now?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. So my article is also going to be on the website. It's not yet published, so it looks a little different than Mike's looked. But I started out with just a brief description of who I am and why I chose photography. And my first carousel here is photos from the past years doing the trail work. There's some of our work from Blueberry Ledges. Paddling. This was at Foss and Knowlton Ponds when we did some corridor work in there. And then continuing down, my gallery from this year. And you can click on all the photos. And some of them just have a title and some of them I did a description. So this is a Town Line T2R9. It's just always been something that I've remembered driving by ever since I was little. Just some entrance signs and an information sign when you're entering the park at the southern gatehouse. And there's the gatehouse. Here's a little ruffed grouse that we saw. And views from the road into Daisy Pond. Gearing up. And this is an orange king devil flower. And it's a blurry picture, but there's a bull moose that we saw at the northern end of the park on the tote road. The only moose I saw all summer, which is unusual. The famous painted rock, which has been painted Keep Maine Beautiful since 1979. Just some more gear pictures. So when I do photography, I like taking close-up pictures of things and signs rather than capturing like the whole view. I like to get little bits and pieces. Always important to have your waters. I usually carry 2 32-ounce Nalgene's whenever I'm hiking, along with a filter. And these are all from Daisy Pond. A common yarrow, creeping bellflower, speed limits. So I kind of got some of everything. And then last minute today, I decided to add a little more information on Leave No Trace, which is very important to me. When I go to Baxter State Park, I go for it to be peaceful so I can enjoy it, not to see people's trash and hear screaming and all that. So Leave No Trace, there's 7 principles, and it is a code of ethics that was created to encourage minimum impact from users in the outdoors. It was created in 1990 by the U.S. Forest Service and the National Outdoor Leadership School. So this article will also be published on the website. And it goes through the 7 principles and what you can do to follow these principles. Carry in, carry out is a big part of Leave No Trace in the park. So whatever you take in, you must take out. Leave what you find. Don't take rocks, sticks, even the simplest things that you think won't make a difference. If everyone who visited the park took a rock home, there might not be much left. And then if you scroll to the bottom, I put photos and examples of each of the 7 principles. And that is all I have from my work this year. I did get to do a lot of exploring in the park, which I'm thankful for. I get to go in with my friends, my family, and spend time and explore places I've never been. And I don't know how to do that.
Thanks, Peyton. Wonderful. Really appreciate you sharing all that with us. We do have one question posed so far, which I think is a question that I'll ask you and then all of the other presenters going forward for the evening. And that is, what was your favorite part of your experience this year, and how has your experience inspired you toward your future? So big question.
Well, my favorite part was getting to work at my favorite place, which is South Branch Pond. If I could live there, I would. What was the other part of the question? Is it on here?
How has, let's see, how has your experience inspired you toward your future?
Oops. Well, it's taught me a lot of things, patience, working with others, having to adapt since how we were used to doing trail crew and all had our minds set on that. And then we were surprised by not having a trail crew, but it's just been a great experience and I would recommend it to anyone a million times.
Thanks, Peyton. Great. Any other questions for Peyton? If you do, you can type them in the chat and or the Q&A, or raise your hand and you can ask them out loud to Peyton if you'd like. Peyton, do you want to just mention, well, I guess you mentioned briefly that you worked on forestry and aquatic entomology. Peyton also has a lot of expertise with fisheries. So if anyone has any questions for her about her work in previous summers, I would say those are probably fair game too. Anybody have any questions for Peyton? Okay, thanks so much, Peyton.
Thank you.
All right, so our next speaker tonight is going to be Kyle McNally. Kyle was having some internet connection issues as we were getting prepared for the event tonight about an hour ago. Kyle, if you're able to turn on your audio and video, we'll see whether those are working. And you can, if you work on getting both of those toggled on. It looks like your audio's on, and if you want to hit the button to start video as well, we'll see if you can get connected. And if not, yep.
Said the host disabled it, the video.
Okay, let me turn that on for you then. There you are. Hi. Yeah, great. Working really well. So thrilled to introduce to all of you Kyle McNally. This is his first year in the program, and we are thrilled to have him, and he's done an absolutely phenomenal job with us this year. So take it away, Kyle.
All right, thank you. I am presenting from my phone, and Mary's going to be scrolling through my website, I think. But hi, I'm Kyle McNally. I'm from Stacyville, and I'm going into my senior year at Katahdin High School. This is my first year, and when I started out this program, the lady I mow lawns for actually told me about it, and she was pretty vague about it. And she said it'd just be basically working for Baxter State Park, and I thought that sounded awesome, and I didn't have a ton of experience being in the park. I had hiked Mount Katahdin once, and then I had gone into South Branch a few times, but that was pretty much it. And I thought it would be really cool to learn more about the park, which I did. I learned a lot about the park. And I got a lot of new interests too as well, like hiking, and just I like being in the outdoors a lot more now. And for my presentation, it started just before I went into the park to start working. I went in with a few friends at South Branch, and I saw they had these papers about the animals and just like information about any, like you could give to anybody, just about the animals and like what to do if you encounter a moose, or facts about beavers and stuff like that. And I thought that'd be really cool. They didn't have any about fishing, and I like fishing, so I thought it'd be cool to do something with that. And me and Aaron talked, and we decided we'd put it on the website. So I'll just read a little bit about the website, like what I have at the top of the website, and then I'll read what I have about brook trout. So Baxter State Park has more than 50 ponds and lakes, which makes it perfect for a wide variety of remote, rare, and fun fishing opportunities. Most bodies of water can be fished, and you can find several different species in different locations, Some of the most sought after fish you might find are brook trout, salmon, Arctic char, lake trout, and cusk, but that's not all there is to offer. And here we go, brook trout. It's one of the most sought after fish, not only in Baxter, but all of northern Maine. Brook trout are also the most common fish to find in Baxter and can be found in most bodies of water throughout the park, which is what makes these fishing spots so special. These fish are quite resilient to natural habitats, but because of illegal introductions of other species of fish like bass and perch, it can make it almost impossible for these native fish to survive. Luckily for the brook trout, the park's rules and laws keep these invasive fish out in order for the native fish to be able to thrive, to be able to stay safe and thrive. And then below that, I have some general information about them and like stuff I think I would want to know if I was going to go into the park and wanted to know about fishing. So brook trout or brookies are cold water fish that are typically found in water ranging from 50 to 65 degrees, even though that can vary. The water should also be well oxygenated and clean. And 3-year-old brook trout range from 7.5 to 17.5 inches and are averagely 13.3 pounds, but that can all vary greatly depending on many factors. Most anglers use 4-pound test or less, considering a 4-pound trout, brook trout by anyone's standards is pretty huge. And yeah, so that's just what I kind of thought. Anybody who didn't know much about fishing but wanted to go into the park and try it would want to know. And down at the bottom, I have a list of all the fish species you can find in the park. And I have information on different fish too, but I won't go through all that because that would take me forever. And I'm not sure who asked the question, but somebody asked the question, how would this like impact your future and how it has impacted the way I would think about my future. And honestly, talking with Greg, he was one of the people who led the crew when we were doing their trail work days. We talked quite a bit about, he's a registered master guide, and he talked to me about how you could guide for fishing and how to obtain a guide's license and things like that, and whitewater rafting. We talked about a bunch of stories about that, and it's really changed my perspective on what I could do in the future and what jobs and what doors could be open for me. And I think he was a great person to meet, along with like Brennan, who is the director of trail maintenance, I think, pretty sure. And just opened my eyes to how many jobs I could get in the future in the park. And I think I would really like to do that when I got a little older, out of college. But other than that, that's pretty much it. At the bottom there, I have a few links you can click about fishing laws, map of canoes and kayaks, and then also fish species in the park. And this job has also been amazing for just exploring the park. I hiked into Chimney Pond with my little sister, and she loved it. And she, I think, really likes going into the park now, and brought a few friends in to South Branch and things like that. So this has been a really great experience for me, and I hope I can come back next year too.
Great. Thanks so much, Kyle. Nice job. Really well done. So I think you already mostly answered the question that I asked Peyton as well about your favorite part of the experience this year and how it's inspired you toward your future. The future, I think you just answered the future part at the tail end of your presentation, but what was your favorite part of your experience this summer?
There's a lot there. I really just enjoyed hiking and looking at all the scenery and stuff. But also the days when we were doing trail work were really fun. Just talking with Greg and him teaching us stuff about the park too. And I mean, Greg just knows so much about the outdoors, and it was really awesome to learn from him and for him to tell all these stories and things like that. So I'd have to say those are my two favorite things, just hiking and talking and learning about the park, but also the scenery.
Yeah, great. Thanks. And we have another general question that I'm going to ask everyone about what your plans for the fall, but you're going into your senior year, correct? So you're going to be back in school, Katahdin High School in the fall. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And next question, Kyle, did you get into some of the ponds without trails? Did you bushwhack into some of those ponds to fish? Did you get a chance to do any of that?
No, I didn't, but I did do a lot of hiking into quite a few different ponds. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but I did the 5 Ponds Trail Loop, South Branch, and there's a lot to see on the 5 Ponds Trail Loop. A lot of fishing. South Branch, I can't think of any more right off the top of my head, but no bushwhacking.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks. Any other questions for Kyle? I don't know if you're going to get put on the spot about your favorite secret fishing spots, but that's often comes up as a question when someone's talking about fishing. Oh yeah, did you fish Russell Pond? Were you able to get into Russell? I know that's pretty far.
No, I never really tried it because, like you said, it's pretty far, and I think they're usually booked up, is what Greg told me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about an hour and a half drive to or hour 15-minute drive to the gate. So I wouldn't want to go there just to be for there to be no spots left.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
definitely, I'll try to do in the future.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thanks. And then another question about whether there are any non-native. Are you aware of any non-native fish species in the park? Did you come across any of that in your research?
No, none that I came across. No.
Yeah. So some of you, if any of you have fished on the lakes, the Pemmican chain just outside the southern boundary of the park, smallmouth bass are all through the Penobscot watershed. I'm not aware of any being up in the park yet, but those are those, and they're native to Maine, but they've been introduced by bucket biologists, as we refer to them, people illegally introducing them into a variety of water bodies. So I'm not aware of them being in the park, but there are much more knowledgeable anglers on the call in attendance than I am. So, but yeah, I'm not aware of any either. Barb, I have a question about the Greg that you worked with. So the Greg that Kyle is referring to is Greg Friel, who has been our crew leader on the BYCC. This is year 6 that Greg has been involved with the program. Greg teaches in East Millinocket, lives in Millinocket. As Kyle mentioned, is a guide and exceptionally talented person, and we're incredibly fortunate to have him as one of our crew leaders for the program. So that's the Greg that Kyle was referring to. Barb, any other questions for Kyle? All right, great job, Kyle. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
So our final presenter tonight is also a many-year veteran of the program, and she is from Sherman, Maine, and her name is Emma McGraw. And those of you who have attended these presentations in prior years may remember Emma from I think you were the closing presentation in our session last year as well, Emma. So Emma's going to finish out the night for us. So I'll turn it over to you, Emma.
All right, let's see if I can get my screen going here. All right, so yes, my name is Emma McGraw. This will be my 4th year, and so the first year we did trail work, and then once we started the fellowship, I started studying nature photography. So that's kind of the first thing I'll be talking about before I talk about the invasive plants. But just a little bit more about me. So I'm from Sherman. I graduated from Katahdin Middle and High School last year, and then I took my first year of college at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. And then what I'll be doing this fall is I will be transferring colleges to Cedarville University in Ohio, and my major is theology. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing right now. So yes, about the photography that I've been doing the past couple of years, it was just a very amateur hobby of mine. I just liked taking pictures of pretty things in nature, but I was so grateful for the opportunity to kind of just learn more about that and just to hike all over the place. It allowed me to have a lot of freedom of where I wanted to hike and to explore more. Like Kyle said, I hadn't really done much in the park my whole life. I'd been to, South Branch Pond plenty of times, just, the yearly family trip or something like that. I hadn't really done much exploring, hadn't climbed Katahdin, hadn't done anything. So it gave me a lot of freedom to really explore a lot of the park. In fact, all of the park. Yeah, because that was a goal of mine. I don't, maybe some of you do know, but that I was able to hike the entirety of the park through this program, which is also a really big blessing and just so much fun to explore. And that allowed me to get a lot of pictures and stuff and explore a lot of things and learn a lot more about the park. So I have a gallery showing right now of some of my photography that I've been doing over the past couple of years. And it is titled My Magnificent Obsession. And that is at the Boreal Theater in Millinocket. There is more information on that right here, which will be published with it. And here's just some of the photos that will be on display there. So if you have the time to go check that out, if you'd like to. So this just explains a little bit on that. Just explains what I've been doing and all of that stuff. So there is that. And then I will get to the plants. So for this year, I was like, all right, I've quite exhausted the photography. I've gone everywhere, I've seen everything. So I was suggested that I research invasive plants because I happened upon an invasive plant that had not been discovered in the park before. It's a knapweed. I will grab some pictures of that real quick down here. It has not been quite identified yet as what kind it is, and there actually is suspicion that there's more than one or maybe some hybrids. I think crazy things are happening with the knapweed, but so these are a couple of pictures of those. The first two on the left here are ones that I took, sorry. The first one on the left is that famous one that I mistakenly just thought was a pretty flower, but had had no idea that it was invasive. And so from there, we were kind of just like, we haven't really looked at invasives in the park recently, and so that would be something cool. And so the next one over is one that I took. So these clusters of them have been around the burn area from the wildfire in 2020. So the first one I found was on the Abel Stream Trail. And then this one that I have in the picture in the second one is from the Blueberry Ledges Trail. So right around that area is where they've kind of been spreading and popping up. So that's obviously right at the park boundary. There's a variety of ways that invasive plants can spread. Probably one of the most common is through watercraft or just by them being dropped off of like vehicles. So the most common places you're probably going to spot them are on roadsides or on the banks of the water sources that people can drop their personal boats in. So like Lake Matagamon and Abel Pond and so stuff like that where people can put their own watercrafts in. But yeah, they can really show up anywhere. They can travel through stream systems and show up in different places. The place where the knapweed showed up was a very swampy area, and we have Abel Stream down there and lots of water sources that it could have possibly traveled through. It's hard to really ever tell how plants get there. They just kind of pop up and then they're there. So yeah, this is just a record of ones that have been recorded, and then later at the bottom of the site, I have watch list ones that could possibly be a threat in the next few years, next decade, depending on where they spread, how they spread. You never really know how things are going to happen. So these are just a few of the species that have been documented in Baxter before that are invasive. And so for each one, I kind of have, if it was documented where it was spotted, I have where it was spotted, And then I have just some general information about it, the habitat that it likes to live in, and then what it looks like. And then I have examples of pictures right here, and these go into a light box if you want to look at them closely and stuff. So that's what each of them will entail for each of these plants that have been spotted in the park previously before. And then, so yeah, and then just the knapweed there that I just discovered a small while ago. And then we'll scroll down to where the watch list ones are. So these are ones, like I said, that these will just give you general information about those too, and what they look like and all of that stuff. And they'll have the same information that the other ones did. So there's all of that. There's quite a few of them. And then so at the bottom, I just have more information on like if you want to research these plants more, or if you want to see some of the effects that they have on the environment. And I'll just take a minute to talk about that. These invasive plants are usually ones that are very hardy, ones that can survive in foreign in ecosystems and environments, ones that aren't heavily affected by rough weather or just environments in general, and that's why they're going to survive better than most other plants. A lot of these ones, such as like the ones that are more thorny and thistly, or the I'll scroll down to it so you can see what it is, or creeping ones. So like for the watch list stuff, the stuff like the buckthorn does really well in shade. So it can go under like, canopies, like it doesn't need too much sunlight to spread. And so it can kind of just take over a whole forest floor if it can, and if it has the means to. So a lot of these plants may not be being eaten or taken care of, like a lot of the insects that eat certain plants, they're not going to eat those ones because they're not used to it. It's not in their diet, and they'll be able to thrive better than native plants. They can shade out native plants, stuff like that. They can change the whole ecosystem, and they can change the soil content over time, and they can take all of the nutrients that other plants need. They can really take over a whole area if they're not taken care of properly. And so in turn, they can totally cause other native plants to become extinct in some extreme cases, or just take them out of certain ecosystems and areas where they're possibly being eaten by other animals, which can obviously take an effect on those species, and it could cause quite the chain reaction if they're not taken care of, and if they're not monitored, and if you don't take action to take care of them when they're spotted. So there are a few different ways that they can be taken care of, but obviously park staff knows about that and takes care of that, and that's kind of their job once they find it, is figuring out the best way to remove it and what would be safest for the environment, and to not hurt the environment around it and the native plants and the native species and whatnot. So that is just something that isn't a super big problem right now, but could always be, knocking on the door, and it's something that you have to continually keep monitoring. That's why we have kids like me running around in the woods taking random pictures of flowers, because you never know when one's going to be invasive. So that was just that happened to me being so that has been spreading down there. One reason that could be spreading as fast as it has been, or as plentiful as it has been, is because of that burn area that it has been spreading through. A lot of, like, if the tree canopies have been burned away, that undergrowth has like free sunlight to grow heartily and to flourish with like full sunlight with no canopy covering it. So that could definitely feed into that. But there are really just so many factors that can cause invasive plants to show up. cause them to spread, cause them to not spread. But yeah, so these are just some examples of stuff if you'd like to learn more about that on the website. I guess probably one of my favorite things about the program this year has just kind of been the freedom to just chill out. Last year I went pretty hard on hiking and overnight trips and stuff like that to hike every trail in the park, or to finish up the park, I should say. And I was hiking a lot. I was very exhausted. I mean, it was so much fun, but it was kind of nice to just be laid back and researching more of this, and just getting a chance to hike all the little trails and the fun trails that I missed, and like trails that I used to do as a kid, and just take some time to relax and enjoy myself hiking instead of just rushing around all the time trying to hike everything. And honestly, just the impact that the few years I've had in the program has been really big in my life. I mean, my profession that I'm going into isn't involved in being, necessarily the outdoors, the environment, conservation, but it has grown my own appreciation for it. I really, like I said, Baxter was just a casual thing for me before the program, but it has become my magnificent obsession, and just shown me how to care more for the environment. And yeah, of course, working with others, I had such a great time on Trail Crew, and I was so glad that we got to do some more of that this year. And just working with others and being able to share that love for conservation, and taught me that like I can care so deeply about so many things in my life, and that's just like the most amazing thing. So I'm glad to be able to keep growing my love for this, and to be able to steward that for other people, and to share all this with you. And of course, it couldn't be possible without a lot of your support, financially and in other ways. And it's just been a really big blessing on my life. And I would encourage any youth to be a part of this program if they can. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emma. Great job. So got a couple questions for you. The first one, Emma, great presentation on invasives. As a gardener, I know how impossible some of these are to control, like goutweed. Are there some that are left to spread versus monitor and remove? And I know that's a tough question, because, as you said, the park has so few invasives, and many of them are fairly recent arrivals. So there hasn't been a ton of management done. Do you want me to mention, or did you dive into any of that in your work, or do you want me to describe what I know that's happened for management?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Some of you, so bristly locust is one that is found along by the tow gate. And I know that park staff have been putting in some effort to pull that and control that over the years. The Bishop's goutweed that Emma showed is in the same area, but at this point, we're really in the information gathering stage, and I'm not sure there's anyone from the park on the call at the moment who could answer that question, but the park has been pulling, very carefully pulling the knapweed that Emma discovered in 2020. That species it's an aster, it's in the aster family, so it's incredibly prolific, produces seed. It is a really aggressive colonist of burned areas and disturbed areas. So that one, the park is jumping right on and hand pulling those. So I don't really know, and I believe in the SFMA, that's where the Phragmites common reed population was discovered, and that's a roadside population. And I believe the park jumped right on that and treated that population as well before it could spread further. So I'm not aware of any that are just kind of being left to go. But having said that, the park is at the early stage of a lot of these infestations. Those of you in southern Maine, southern New England, other places where there are thousands of acres, hundreds of thousands, of individuals of some of these species, it does reach a point where it's really difficult, and where there's really not a lot you can do without wholesale, widespread wholesale disturbance. And the park thankfully hasn't had to really make that decision yet because it's in the early stages. So hopefully we're decades away from being at that point where it's really widespread and completely out of control, but we're not there yet, thankfully. So yeah, sorry, Larkspur, that was not a great answer, but Emma, do you have anything you want to add there about any of the species you were working on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about what the park, other than the knapweed, what the park is doing about these invasive species. There are like plenty of ways. I mean, it just depends on the type of plant as to how you go about removing them. I know like with National Park Standard Service, they will even like use herbicides on some if they're like extremely invasive and extremely hard to eradicate in a safe way. Of course, they section off areas and they do it very safely, but there's a wide range of like removal processes that state and national parks use to remove them. Just depends on like, yeah, how dangerous they are, how widespread they are. Yeah, if it's gone too far and it's like almost too big of a job to even deal with. But usually, yeah, if you just keep close watch and surveillance on them, usually you don't catch that, you catch them before they're completely overridden in an area. But I could imagine it's definitely harder with a with a larger park. But yeah, there's so many factors that play into it, and the different types of plants and what's best for the environment, and you don't want to hurt what's already there. But it's kind of a delicate thing to go about removing them. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah. The park is definitely going to have to grapple with that over the coming decades, but yeah, we're 30 plus years behind Southern Maine and probably 50 or 75 years behind Southern New England. Yeah, so we have the gift of time on a lot of these things. So follow-up question about brown-tail moth, and not an invasive plant, but an insect that's spreading quickly in Maine. And whether that's reached Baxter yet. And I don't know if is it at your house yet, Emma and Sherman? Yeah.
I don't believe I've spotted any.
Yeah. I'm not aware of it being in the park yet. I know it's in Orono, and probably further north from Orono. I think the wave came through Belfast, Belmont area where I live a few years ago and seemed to kind of crest and then move north. And I know it's at least as far north as Orono and probably up into 20 or 30, 40 miles north of that, but I'm not aware of any in the park yet. Okay, another question, Emma, has knotweed, I think Japanese knotweed, been found in the park yet?
It has not, but it's on the watch list for sure. I'll scroll down to it. Second. Because so I have information on it down here. So yeah, it as of right now it has not been spotted, but it's definitely on the watch list. It's definitely in the county. Definitely creeping up there. But yeah, super invasive plant. This is probably one of the most, it's one of the most invasive in the world, as I have on here. It's one of the most well-known invasive plant species, but yeah, very, very destructive. But yeah.
So one of the things that, in addition to having this information on our website, we're going to be working on putting together a training for park staff with the information that Emma has compiled this summer, and hopefully doing a training this fall for staff, as well as a more involved training next spring before, maybe during the solid week of staff training, so that park staff are aware of all these species, both the ones that are already present as well as the watch list. And I have to say, Emma, since you found the knapweed there, and park staff are aware that it's around and been looking for it, they picked some up. It's at Dacey. I think a park staff member found that recently, and people are starting to notice it in other areas. So that knowledge is really, really helpful. And your work putting this information together is hopefully we'll be able to get it in the hands of park staff and out in front of visitors as well. And the more sets of eyes looking for these species, the better. And we can all stay on top of it. Right. Any other questions for Emma? Okay, great job, Emma. Thank you so much. All right. So at this point, I would open it up to any questions at all for any of our presenters. They are all still connected, even though you're not seeing them on screen, and could easily hop back on to answer a question. So if you have any questions for anyone tonight who spoke tonight, please ask them now in the chat or in the Q&A, or any general questions for me about the program as well. Feel free to ask them now. All right. Well, I think that concludes our presentations for this evening. I am so grateful to each of you for taking time out of your busy day to attend and participate. Question. Thank you, Larkspur. Great question. The question was, what's my favorite part of this program? Hard to pick a single favorite part. Running this program is one of the greatest joys of this job for me. I really think my favorite part is just seeing all the different ways that this work inspires the young people who participate, inspires thoughts about careers or thoughts about education choices after they participate, or inspires kids to bring their families back and show them the trail work that they did. I think just the inspiration in all of its different manifestations, that's my favorite part of the program. And many of us who are involved in the outdoors and the environmental field know that, inspiration means a lot, and it can inspire a lifetime of stewardship and of work on behalf of these places that we care about. And a single person feeling that spark is significant, and a group of people over time feeling that spark and being inspired is really deeply meaningful to me. So I think that's my favorite part. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much for attending. And if you'd like to, if you have anyone who loves and cares about the park and would like to watch a recording of these presentations, they will be up on our YouTube channel soon. Hopefully within a week, we'll have them posted on our YouTube channel. You can check them out there. And I just want to give, we can't all clap together on screen, but just a giant round of applause and appreciation to our 5 presenters from this evening. They inspire me every day, and it's an honor to be able to work with them as part of this program. So really grateful. Mike and Jake, Peyton, Kyle, and Emma, thank you all so much for sharing your knowledge and your learning and your inspiration with us tonight. Thank you all for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.